Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Unstoppable Conversations. And I have Mary Jane Charles in the house with us today, and she's going to talk about what she does and how she helps people. And we are going to share her book with you as well. So, Mary Jane, I want to welcome you here. Thank you so much. And tell me a little bit about you, your business, and how you help others.
Well, thank you for having me, LaDonna. It's been a while, a New York minute, as they say. So I experienced a sudden death of my spouse about 12 years ago. And in that whole experience was a simple fact that he had no papers. He didn't leave any papers for anybody, let alone an executor. And everybody's looking at me because I was his wife. It was a kind of an estranged family, if you will, so there were a few layers. And I didn't know anything, and I didn't have any, and I wasn't telling any tales. I had to go through the process of being appointed a personal representative because there was no will, so there was no executive. And in that process, you dig deep. You're sitting there and the state starts telling you what you need to do. It's nobody you know. It's simply, these are the rules according to the probate court of, and at the time I lived in Washington State. So I made it through, and I won't take you through all the blood and guts, but there were some days that you just thought, where's the off button? Then, as I realized, was pointed out by a husband of a good friend, you've got this, you can do this, no one's going to question what you do, and you got to see it through. It was the kindest thing anybody had done for me. It empowered me, and someone said, it's okay, you can't make any mistakes. And comically, he said, he's dead. And that sounds absolutely hard. But it, too, was a relief having that pointed out because I had lived under a ceiling, if you will. But that wasn't there anymore, that pressure. And I could do as I felt was proper with the blessing of the state of Washington. At the gate, you don't want this to happen to you. That started the notes for the book. I wrote a book. It's called Surviving the Business of Dying, Why Final Papers Matter. And it is really very important. It's not a cute little thing. I have some stories. It's not intended to be morose. It's to help, to relieve the stress before anything happens. And it's in addition to the will. It's not a legal document, though depending on how thoroughly you fill it out and make your heart known, it could easily become a legal document. So I help people because I fill in the simple things that unless they're taken care of, it's just too much to handle in the moment. A friend of mine 2 years ago, she's somewhat debilitated and needs help at different times a day. Her husband was the go-to. Well, they were working in the kitchen, and it wasn't what he said, it was how he said it. She thought something's not right. She turned around. He was having a stroke. And she was able to call neighbors, and they called the emergency people. She happens to live in the wilds of Canada. So it's not like sticking your head out the window and yelling help. Long story short, in her instance, everybody's fine. He's well, and everything had worked out beautifully. What also worked out beautifully was she could skip the shock of having to take care of the family business. Eldest sons arrived. She pointed to my book, which looks like this. Looks like an old-fashioned coloring book. All the things he would have to know to run their business, for a couple of months, was in the book. She didn't have to sit there and think in the moment with everything else going on. And she has thanked me to this day. So the book helped. That made me feel like $1 million because I sat there in my own moment. I was in my dining room, and here you have piles. One is medical, one is real estate, one is the attorney. And you do need an attorney. You can't do this by yourself. You don't want to misspeak and confuse what is already in the will. You need the will, and then you need this book. But in both instances, have an attorney review it. So I sat there and I looked at the piles. I thought, these are chapters. This is my book. The estate rambled on. It took 18 months and 3 attorneys. Because when I was 2 small potatoes, the estate was not big, and they did not take care of me. And everybody's yelling and screaming. And I'm like, again, pick an attorney, make a friend ahead of time. You have to like these people. You don't want to be assigned one by a court. You want to know them and have them call you by the correct name. My name is Mary Jane. I answer to a lot of mixes. That's okay. But if you're paying them, they better know your name. That's just respect. And don't be afraid to demand or change your voice. But be nice because they're working for you. But at the same time, don't let somebody's overconfidence in themselves push you around. That's not fun. You can really state your own case. You have to. You can change attorneys. Caveat, have one already behind you that you're going to change to. These are lessons learned, and they're easily learned by hearing them or reading them or having someone in front of you who can answer your questions. I can do all 3. I do it easily. I have bi-monthly classes. I sell a set of books personally. They're on Amazon. That's my story, and that's my workbook. And I have them on Amazon, but they're also available through my website. The website is lastwishesandsupport.com, and that's spelled LASTWISHES, and the letter N instead of the word and. I was being clever trying to shorten it, and now I have to explain it every time I use it. I also talk about caregiving, and it's a touchy topic. It's becoming more and more a family job, if you will, and many times people don't realize they're on the precipice of a really big job. If you're running errands for a neighbor or grocery shopping, all of the little things, and then there's an instance where you find yourself shifting your schedule more than you probably should. If you don't want to be a caregiver, speak with a family member and kind of redirect the energy so they're not always looking at you.
I love that idea, Mary Jane. I love that idea.
It's not wrong. We all have jobs, many of us, most of us, of some kind. Whether it's home, don't let them think you have time on your hands because you work from home. Entrepreneurs work from home. They work from their car. They work at the gas station. We work all over the place. And that's a presumption that people who have to get up and go to an office, that's great. Well, the world is our office, mostly. And you can say no. And you can be very helpful in saying no rather than creating another mess.
Absolutely.
So be strong. Think ahead of time. How much more can I take on? And where do I go to find someone who can fill my spot? Start talking. Work the room.
Right.
I will have a list of general places to speak with caregivers. I was a caregiver twice in life. Situations were very different. The first time I was 27 and my husband had ALS. That was a 24/7 job. The last one, he was 63, and his was alcohol oriented, and it got really rough and psychologically. But he wouldn't go to a doctor. He used Dr. Google, and that's a whole other trajectory. But I learned a lot in action, definitely on the job. Contact there. My whole purpose in this speech is to simply prepare. Like if we have earthquake kits, and we have first aid kits, and we have baby kits and babysitter kits. This is a emergency kit of its own style, and it is, for instance, who are the first people you would call if, God forbid, you slipped and hit your head, other than 911? Who do you call to let them know? Mary Jane, we can't do this today. I just did blah, blah, blah. And I would be trying to figure out who to call on your behalf. You need a list. What are their phone numbers? Because not everybody looks at their email at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Where's your bank? What bank do you use? What branch? With whom should I speak? Or whoever you appoint. as your backup.
Let me ask you, Mary Jane, real quick, because I want to make sure we get this information in. Is I understand that this is not a will. This is something completely separate from the will.
Correct.
And it could or it may be an official document if you do it correctly. I understand that. But where do you leave this book? Do you leave it in a drawer at home and tell someone where it is? Do you put it in your lockbox? Do you leave it with your attorney? What do you suggest?
I would so you finish your book and keep it where you can find it, because you will want to change things. It's not it can become, depending upon how you view it, it's a good place to keep notes, or it can keep more important facts. And everybody's facts vary because we're all so different in upbringing and religion and customs, etc. But I named the person you should have who knows of the book and knows that it exists. And I call that person your first lieutenant. It need not be a relative. It might be smart to have an arm's length in there. They should know your family. Your family should know them. But it's not a Thanksgiving conversation. It is a private document. You definitely let your attorney know that you have such a thing. You can give him, you keep the original because you'll be changing it. So you can give him a copy to see, and that might prompt, the thing is, this might prompt something you hadn't thought of and he didn't know about. So it's good to give him a copy, be like, oh, did you really mean that? Or, well, if you're doing that here, you might want to think about, but it leads to more conversation. Where you should keep it is up to you. Safe and sound. I wouldn't keep it in the kitchen. I'd put it in a more private spot. And anytime you, as you make changes, next to whatever you thinly cross out is to put the date and your initials, so that in the future, if it does become a legal document and the attorney didn't get the updated copy, the date will tell him his is not the very first when you're showing currently is. Real estate, whenever, as a realtor, people could make a change on the document. I don't know how they do it now. This, again, was like 25 years ago. But they were allowed to single stroke their whatever they're going to change and initial it and then date it. So and that would go on all copies so that there were no misunderstandings. So that's it. And in doing that, you're making it more professional and more precise. And at some level, again, the attorney might say you want to get this notarized, and that makes it a legal document.
Yes.
And a copy would be put with your will.
Now, what is the difference between the book and the will? Because I know you're putting things in your will, how you want things to work. What are some of the differences so that people really understand what we're writing in the book?
The book is the little things, like your baseball cards. Are they going to go into Goodwill? Somebody would fall over if they ever heard that. They want that little boy down the street to have these things. This book represents what's really close to your heart. The legal is the house, and if they sell the house, proceeds will go to ABC, and that's where legally, with deeds and trusts, that goes in the will. This is what you would call an addendum when it's finished and all dressed up and dated and notarized. Again, everything is changeable depending upon life. And you have your first lieutenant over here. I think of two neighbors who knew more about me than anybody else. Joni was a helper at one point. You can call them a helper or a first lieutenant. To trust them is paramount. And they will be calling shots for you in your stead if you fall and bump your head, or worse. This is not just for somebody who's dying. We should all have this. This winter in the Northeast, the ice, the snow, a lot of people died before they knew they would because of the conditions. But it can be made up very quickly. It seems a lot of it is simple and is right off the top of your head. Other things need thought, or you have to go look it up. If you're not there to run your business, what are your standard operating procedures? How do you get started? What are your routines? Who does your bookkeeping? That can go in here also. And that information should be available, period.
That is, I didn't even think about that, Mary Jane. I was thinking about who's going to get the dog collection,
Well, that too. Yes.
Things like that, but I didn't think about my business, and no, including my husband, no one knows how I run my business.
Yes.
I have no clue because I do it on my own and my team. My team would be able to carry it on, but they wouldn't unless they had instructions to do so.
Well, exactly. And in that case, you might consult an attorney, because who is ever your co-signer currently? And again, what banks? Is it the same bank? You have to do a business inventory, basically. Should redo my book and include that page. That will be workbook volume 2. I'll make that note.
Good idea.
Yeah. So,
I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't even think about my business, that part of my life, which is a big part.
Well, at the gate, if you fill in your head and you can't talk for a while, business continues. So to automate your business and have somebody be able to go in, sit down, use your CRM and say, this is how it happened. Please excuse us while we get our act together. We haven't forgotten you, and we'll be back shortly. And if you want to say hi to LaDonna, just send it to one address. I don't know how, especially if it's private, whatever's going on. But you do need to let your clients know, I'll be back in a minute.
Yes. Those are some great ideas. I'm so glad that we had you on, Mary Jane, because I had never heard of anything like this until I met you. But great. I thought, wow, these are some really great ideas. I've heard about, get a will, get attorneys involved. I knew all of that. But as far as what some people may call the smaller things can be really huge things for some of them.
That's exactly right. And they're not always covered in a will. And, every attorney is different. Make them your friend. Meet them when you do not need them. Speak with more than one when you could care less. You're just meeting person to person. And I can't tell you how important it is for them to get your name right. That really became a bug in my bonnet. I was just like, geez Louise.
Yes.
It's Mary Jane. I will give it a little last name. You'll get too confused.
And you would think Mary Jane wouldn't be that hard. But people make it hard sometimes. People make it hard. And it is disrespectful when you tell them what your name is and then they get it wrong. And they still get it wrong.
They're not listening, and they might already be in a tither because of whatever is happening.
Yes.
So always carry a good old-fashioned business card. They can read it at the red light.
There you go. Perfect idea. Mary Jane, you've given us so many perfect ideas, suggestions, and momentum to get our act together and get our stuff together so that we can compile all the information inside this book. And if you haven't already retained an attorney, talk to an attorney. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to do that. But get your book filled out and contact Mary Jane or go on Amazon and pick up your books so that you have them when you get started. And then it lays it out exactly what you need and what you should have and where to put it. So it's all in one area instead of scattered all over the place. So Mary Jane is on the social medias. You can find her on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can find her on Amazon, and you can always contact me if you have trouble finding Mary Jane, and I have the call right into her. So I want to thank everyone for being here today. Mary Jane, this has been awesome, and I wish that all of you would have a very great day. And until next time, I will see you again soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye.